After Ethan's marital affair came to light, the mistress he'd been keeping outside our marriage sent me a video. The footage showed a travel-weary man accepting a newborn from the doctor's hands, his face alight with first-time paternal joy. I blankly locked my phone screen, thinking of my own daughter who'd just turned 1 overseas, and sent a message to her biological father, "Bring her home. It's time." The mistress Ethan had been supporting was going into labor. He received the call during our 5th wedding anniversary dinner. "Ethan, it's happening," came the woman's strained cries through the receiver. He stood abruptly, tension threading through his otherwise composed tone. "It's weeks early. Stay calm, I'm coming." Setting down my fork, I frowned. Emergency at the office? A flicker of panic crossed his features before smoothing into corporate professionalism. "Apologies, Ivy. My assistant will drive you home." With those clipped words, he strode out without backward glance. Watching his retreating figure, I opened my phone to find multiple notifications from the mistress, Ms. Anderson. "I'm the woman your husband keeps. My water just broke. Care to guess whether Ethan will stay celebrating your paper anniversary, or rush to hold my hand through delivery?" The taunt reeked of smug certainty. I dismissed the message. This revelation wasn't news. I'd known about Ethan's infidelity for months. As for the illegitimate child, merely another corporate merger's collateral damage. Our marriage had begun as a calculated alliance between the Miller and Anderson empires. The 7-year age gap and transactional nature made me initially recoil from my groom. We coexisted as polite strangers, counting down the days until our 3-year contract expired. Yet against all logic, companionship blossomed during that 2nd year. Ethan became my unexpected sheltered patient mentor, guiding me through boardroom politics. Quick-witted companion during tedious galas. Steadfast protector during family crises. His thoughtfulness disarmed me, heated car seats pre-warmed before winter meetings. Annotated translations for overseas contracts. Even memorizing my irrational aversion to gardenias. The night everything changed remains crystalline in memory. First snowfall in City A. Ethan drove us to the observation deck of Aurora Tower. For 3 hours. The night sky blazed with custom pyrotechnics, each explosion forming intricate mathematical sequences he knew I'd appreciate. Amid falling ash and swirling snowflakes, the CEO of Miller Holdings knelt before me, frost crystallizing on his lashes as fireworks reflected in his widened pupils. "Ivy," he'd said, voice raw with uncharacteristic vulnerability. "Let's rewrite our contract. Not as business partners, but as true partners. What do you say?" Now, standing alone in the empty restaurant, I traced the platinum band on my left hand. Even the most elaborate vows turned to ash when fidelity shattered. Instead of returning to our penthouse, I drove to the Craftsman Villa in City A's hills. Ethan remained unaware of this property, my sanctuary, during his frequent business trips. The caretaker had kept it immaculate, down to the fresh peonies, never gardenias, in the entryway. I expected the mistress to gloat after midnight. Her follow-up video arrived at 2:17 a.m. Ethan, hair disheveled from rushed travel, cradling a swaddled newborn with reverent wonder. His expression soft, awestruck, brimming with unguarded affection, stabbed deeper than any infidelity. In 5 years of marriage, I'd never witnessed such naked emotion from him. Did he truly crave parenthood? During our brief honeymoon phase, I'd once mused about children over breakfast. He'd set down his coffee with measured calm. Offspring complicate exit strategies. Let's revisit after the merger. Now I understood it wasn't children he rejected, but heirs bearing my DNA. The realization settled like broken glass in my sternum. Twin notification pings interrupted the silence. The first from my Geneva-based attorney, paternity results confirmed. Full custody documentation ready for filing. The second from an unknown number showed Ethan asleep in a maternity ward chair. Infant curled on his chest. Accompanying text dripped with faux sympathy. Some men just prefer real families over contractual ones. When will you stop embarrassing yourself? My thumb hovered over the Swiss attorney's contact. Across the room, moonlight glinted off the unopened anniversary gift Ethan had left, a velvet box containing earrings modeled after Cassiopeia, the constellation visible during our first date. Outside, City A's skyline twinkled indifferently. Somewhere below, my husband guarded his new family. Somewhere above the Atlantic, a dark-eyed toddler slept unaware of the warring dynasties she'd inherited. I poured myself a finger of single malt, the ice cube cracking like a tiny glacier calving. Tomorrow, the lawyers would swarm. Tonight, I allowed myself one final weakness, tracing the video's paused frame where Ethan's wedding band still gleamed, dutifully worn even while holding his bastard child. Back then, he never spoke. I was the only one chattering nonstop. Even by the end, I never got my answer. Now, that year's delayed answer lies before me. Ethan loved children, but only the child of his first love, the one born to the mistress. Ethan had always carried a torch for his unattainable first love, something I only discovered after his affair. How laughable. I'd truly believed he loved me. Why else would he have carried me on his back through snowstorms, trudging endless circles around the neighborhood even as his shoes filled with slush? Why else would he rent every digital billboard in the city for my birthday, lighting the sky with fireworks meant for my eyes alone? Why else would he pray to every deity when I burned with fever, bargaining for my health? His actions made me feel like a spoiled child reveling in unconditional devotion. Until someone revealed the truth, Ethan had done every single one of these things for another woman first. What I'd mistaken as unique affection was merely him reenacting past passions. Like a clown, I'd wallowed in delusional happiness, never realizing the joke was on me. I blankly locked my phone screen, my heart long since numbed. The Ivy who loved Ethan died the moment I discovered his betrayal. The affair came to light through sheer accident. Before our marriage, he'd volunteered monthly at a stray cat shelter. When I asked if he did it for the kittens, he never denied it. After learning of my cat allergy, he abruptly stopped going. 3 years into our marriage, I was hospitalized for anaphylactic shock triggered by cat dander, impossible given our staff's strict precautions. The only possible carrier was Ethan himself. A woman's intuition is terrifying. The private investigator's photos initially confused me. I barely recognized the man gazing with liquid tenderness at another woman. This Ethan nuzzled her cheeks and nose like a starved man, kissing her with desperate passion, their intertwined fingers broadcasting intimacy I'd never experienced. Even his kisses with me had been polite by comparison. The ultimate humiliation? He'd been cheating since Luna returned from abroad, even co-parenting a stray cat with her. Disgust flooded me, viscous and strangling. I unearthed their entire history despite Ethan's efforts to bury it. Classic rich heir meets poor girl, torn apart by family opposition. How cliché. How utterly banal. Yet this trite melodrama made me the punchline. I obsessively revisited their records. No wonder he never discussed past relationships. No wonder he always seemed emotionally detached. His authenticity, his fire, his reckless abandon, all spent on another. What remained for me were hollow performances. But why involve me? Why cloak me in lies while serving betrayal after betrayal? I stayed locked in our bedroom for 24 hours. When Ethan returned, he had the audacity to act normally. Noticing my pallor, he reached to feel my forehead with performative concern. Ivy. What's wrong? The gentle features I'd once adored now twisted into something monstrous before my eyes. I don't understand how he could act so nonchalantly as if nothing happened. My rage screamed at me to confront him and tear off the veneer of civility. I wanted to claw at his face until he saw his own hypocrisy and filth. But I knew I couldn't. Why should those who give their hearts be trampled? Why must I nurse this pain alone? Why do betrayers walk free? From the beginning, Ethan was the one at fault all along. I reopened my phone. The screen lit up with a photo of a biracial girl wearing a tiny birthday crown. My heart softened. After hesitating, I finally messaged someone labeled Q. Almost instantly, an international call came through. A sweet, childish voice chirped first, "Hugo? Mama." Then Alex appeared on screen, cradling a chubby-cheeked toddler. My resolve melted completely. Little Jessica had clearly gained weight, her porcelain skin and curly hair made her look like a living mochi ball. I ignored Alex, focusing entirely on making Jessica giggle. Only when he tapped the screen did I reluctantly meet his gaze. "What do you mean by bringing Jessica back?" he asked. The bathrobe draped over his frame revealed sculpted collarbones, a deliberate distraction. I kept my eyes locked on his. "I miss her. And Ethan's mistress just had his love child. It's time to settle accounts." Alex's sharp features softened inexplicably. "Do you want me to come back too, BB?" The Cantonese endearment rolled off his tongue like honey, amplified by those emerald green eyes that could drown anyone. I glanced at his half-open robe before looking away. "Be serious. This isn't a joke." He chuckled, redirecting the camera to Jessica's sleeping face. "She misses you." A pause. "I miss you." I pretended not to hear the last part. After hanging up, I switched to a burner account and opened Ethan's WeChat. His latest post from 30 minutes ago gloated, "New father to a 7.5-pound miracle. You've suffered, my love." The photos showed a newborn gripping his finger and intertwined hands with Luna. Dozens of congratulatory comments flooded the post, all from Ethan and Luna's mutuals. These people knew he was married. Yet they still cheered? And Ethan? Disgusting. He'd not only fathered a bastard but meticulously hidden his affair. All his polished charm couldn't mask that rotten core. My love had been wasted on trash. Gritting my teeth, I left a hollow congratulations, like everyone else, before slamming my phone shut. Ethan returned on the 5th day. His assistant had tipped me off. So I waited. Travel-weary yet glowing. He walked in radiating the joy of new fatherhood, a happiness that made me want to vomit. Still, I had to admit it was impressive he'd returned so early despite having his precious mistress by his side. I teased him lightly. "Did something wonderful happen?" Ethan simply smiled without answering. As I trimmed the rose bushes, I wondered how he'd handle the mother and child waiting outside. Divorce was impossible now, our family's interests were too deeply entangled. A few years earlier, perhaps. But not anymore. Ethan knew this better than anyone. Otherwise, he'd never have let Luna bear his illegitimate child in secrecy. The irony wasn't lost on me. Before becoming Mrs. Miller, I'd been nothing but a bargaining chip for the Anderson family. Ethan himself had molded me into the poised executive now holding a vice presidency at Anderson Group. Had he loved me then? No. He'd wanted a wife worthy of his status. Foolishly, I'd given him my heart anyway, the same heart now lying in fragments at his designer loafers. Men like Ethan always crave what they can't possess. As for Luna, her hands weren't clean either. Only someone supremely confident would dare send me those incriminating texts behind Ethan's back. She'd hoped I'd crumble upon seeing evidence of his infidelity, meekly surrendering my position. But she'd underestimated me. Years of effort, sleepless nights forging my career, every shattered piece of my soul, these couldn't be repaid with Ethan's half-hearted remorse. When Ethan reappeared after composing himself, his usual gentle demeanor had returned. "Ivy," he hesitated, fingers brushing my shoulder. I looked up, intrigued. "A friend of mine recently became a father." "Hold on," I interrupted with mock seriousness. "I've seen enough social media to know a friend usually means." I paused dramatically. "Ethan, this isn't about you, is it?" His smile remained unshaken as he drew me into an embrace smelling of sandalwood and deceit. "Don't be absurd. My friend's wife died in a car accident after childbirth. He asked me to adopt the baby. We can decline if you're uncomfortable." I nearly laughed aloud. Only Ethan could fabricate such an elaborate origin story for his bastard. With divorce off the table and legitimacy required for his heir, he'd chosen me as the puppet mother. Once the adoption papers were signed, even future exposure couldn't undo it. His illegitimate son would legally become the Miller heir. And why wouldn't he be confident? The polished, unflappable Ivy was his creation. How could his devoted masterpiece ever leave him? Returning his embrace, I traced the crow's feet at his temple. Are you wanting children, Ethan? At your age, my thumb lingered on silver strands. Maybe we should have our own. Blood matters. Don't you think? After all, internet wisdom warns about raising ungrateful souls. What if the child we adopt turns out to be exactly that? Since discovering Ethan's affair, I'd refused intimacy out of health concerns, using pregnancy avoidance as excuse. Our busy corporate schedules and his entanglement with Luna provided convenient cover for our dying marriage. Ethan's posture stiffened. He pulled me closer with uncharacteristic patience. Ivy, I know you dread childbirth. Adopting solves everything. I swear this child won't be what you fear. I disentangled myself with bitter humor. You're awfully invested. Ethan, this isn't yours, is it? His mask remained flawless. Don't you trust me? Once, I would have believed him. Now, I burst into laughter, shattering the tension. Relax. I'm kidding. Of course I trust you. The moment I relented, Ethan rushed from our Beverly Hills mansion. His assistant texted, he's retrieving the child now. MS. Anderson. After the affair surfaced, I'd paid handsomely to turn his right-hand man. This mole granted access to Ethan's secret accounts and Luna's scheming. His urgency confirmed the child's significance. But would Luna surrender her offspring willingly? The answer came with Ethan's return. Another alert, he brought MS. Harper to his Brentwood penthouse. Major fight during transit. Predictable. No mother abandons her child lightly. Especially not Luna. My investigators painted her portrait a proud Columbia graduate who'd ghosted Ethan years ago. Confident in his undying devotion. Our very public marriage shattered her delusions, triggering this desperate homecoming. I texted instructions, anticipation curling my lips. Alex arrived from LAX before Ethan. At my doorstep stood the night air, baby carrier strapped to his broad shoulders, designer luggage in hand. Jessica's weight settled warmly against me. Miss me, sweetheart? My goddaughter responded with emerald eyes mirroring her father's, brimming with tears. Shoo. Mommy's sorry. I cooed, nuzzling her peach fuzz cheeks. Alex knelt beside us, his British accent softening. There's my good girl. Jessica's whimpers ceased, arms reaching for me. Up. Up. Ethan froze in the foyer, oblivious to his own wailing bundle. Jessica buried her face in my neck. Startled, Alex emerged from the kitchen, baby bottle in hand, the scene crystallizing into perfect chaos. He rushed over hurriedly, still clutching Jessica's baby bottle. His deep eyes briefly flickered toward Ethan and the child in his arms by the doorway before looking away. Tightening the bottle cap, he crouched down and gently waved the bottle to capture Jessica's attention. Good girl, Jessica. Look what this is. Come to daddy. Ethan's expression darkened instantly. He strode toward me, stormy gaze shifting between me and Alex. After a prolonged silence, he forced out, Ivy. Who are they? I shot him an exasperated look. Didn't you say you wanted to adopt a child? I have zero experience with babies, so I called someone who does. Gesturing toward Jessica being fed by Alex. I smiled faintly. Don't you think her eyes and lips resemble mine? Ethan scrutinized Alex and Jessica suspiciously. Since when do you have friends I don't know about? Ivy? I shrugged. He's my business partner. This is his daughter, Jessica. I wish I had a little girl like her. My voice tinged with unmistakable longing. Ethan immediately tensed, studying Jessica before shaking his head. She doesn't look much like you at all, Ivy. If anything, she takes after Alex. Extending a hand toward Alex, he added stiffly, I'm Ethan, Ivy's husband. Alex merely nodded, his demeanor frosty. Undeterred by the chill, Ethan pressed on. Your daughter's lovely. Where's her mother? At this, Alex finally reacted. Cradling Jessica, he glanced at me meaningfully before murmuring to the baby. Jessica, tell Uncle Ethan where Mommy is. Hearing Mommy, Jessica immediately reached for me, babbling, Mama, Mama. I beamed and responded playfully. Ethan stiffened as if electrocuted. Children shouldn't call random people Mom. He hastily thrust his own child toward me. Look how adorable he is. He launched into effusive praise for the boy, paternal pride radiating from every word. I withdrew my hand disinterestedly. Fine. Let's adopt him. How about hosting a gala tomorrow? Stunned by my sudden compliance, Ethan finally grinned. All right. We'll do as Ivy says. The next day's event overflowed with A-list attendees. Ethan paraded the child through the crowd, basking in congratulations. Several society matrons approached me pityingly. Ms. Anderson, your husband seems unusually invested in that boy. I sipped my champagne, smiling. He's the future heir to Miller Group. Of course we're invested. They shook their heads in performative sympathy. I nearly laughed aloud. What did they pity me for? The delusional wife unknowingly adopting her husband's love child? Let them savor their little drama. The real performance was just beginning. Looking back, I must thank Ethan. He was the one who guided my naive self into the cutthroat world of business, teaching me how to gradually consolidate power in my palms. He meticulously honed me into the sharpest blade. I still remember the day I fully took control of Anderson Enterprises. The thrill of holding absolute power far surpassed any romantic intoxication. When one possesses sufficient status, position, and influence, all subordinate labels evaporate. That's why these society women address me not as Mrs. Miller, but as Ivy. For all this, I truly owe him. Now, I shall repay him with a grand gesture. As Ethan stood on the podium holding his child, Alex approached me with Jessica in his arms. I took the giggling toddler into my embrace, playing peek-a-boo as several matrons nearby exchanged uneasy glances. Ms. Anderson, this child, I smirked, deliberately voicing their unspoken thought, looks rather like me. Doesn't she? While tickling Jessica's chin, I sighed wistfully. I'd love to have such an adorable daughter. Pity that dream might never come true. The words barely left my lips when a shrill scream pierced the air. Ethan! Who do you want our child to call mother? Luna stood there in designer finery, her pallid face betraying exhaustion no cosmetics could conceal. The crowd parted like the Red Sea as she marched toward me, spine rigid despite visible trembling. Her venomous glare at Ethan transformed her delicate beauty into something almost grotesque. I nearly died giving birth to our son. You promised to divorce her and make me your wife. Liar! Her hysterical shrieks met only with Ethan's glacial composure. With a curt gesture, security guards moved to eject her. Some deranged fan? Remove her immediately. In that moment, I realized Ethan's love for Luna had always been conditional, contingent upon maintaining his golden boy reputation and personal interests. Threatened his carefully crafted facade, even as the one who got away, and he'd discard you without hesitation. As their confrontation unfolded, whispered speculations buzzed through the crowd. Alex retrieved Jessica from my arms, his pinky subtly brushing my palm beneath the child's wriggling form. I maintained perfect poise, though my lips quirked infinitesimally. On stage, Ethan's expression hardened into aristocratic disdain, his towering position allowing him to literally look down at the crumpled Luna now weeping on the marble floor. I exhaled softly. The show couldn't end here. A discreet text activated the banquet hall screens, flooding them with time-stamped evidence of Ethan's affairs. Paparazzi suddenly materialized like sharks scenting blood, cameras thrusting toward the stage. Mr. Miller, care to comment on your love child? Does Ms. Anderson know about your infidelity? Watching Ethan besieged by flashing lights. I turned on my heel and left. He returned home hours later, tailored suit wrinkled and hair disheveled. I waited silently in the parlor, sliding divorce papers across the coffee table without recriminations. You cheated. Let's end this. Ethan's lips parted, then closed. Wordlessly, he pushed the documents back toward me. Ivy. I won't divorce. Ethan would never choose divorce. At this critical juncture, divorce would only deal catastrophic blows to the Miller Group. Ethan wasn't foolish enough to make such a losing business decision. Just like how our marriage had been transactional from the beginning. I remained silent, producing another document from my bag. Remember this agreement? Ethan's gaze locked onto the papers, but he said nothing. Clearly, he'd forgotten. There had been sweet moments between us before Luna's return. Back when I still basked in his affection. I playfully demanded he draft this postnuptial agreement stipulating that either party committing infidelity would forfeit half their assets to the betrayed spouse. To me then, this document symbolized eternal marital fidelity, tangible proof of Ethan's love. But to him, probably just another trivial appeasement for his temperamental wife. He'd signed it carelessly, never imagining I'd take it seriously. I waved the agreement before him. Forgotten? Your signature's right here. Legally binding. If we go to court, you'll lose. I should have produced this 2 years ago. But I waited. Ethan covered his tracks too well without irrefutable evidence. Any lawsuit would crumble. I'd risk losing everything. So I bided my time until his bastard child was born. Blood doesn't lie. That squalling infant became his indelible scarlet letter. Knowing he'd never willingly surrender half the Miller fortune, I threw the documents at his face. Get on your knees. Beg me. Satisfy me. And we'll divorce peacefully. This agreement disappears. His expression twisted. How could Ethan kneel? His pride, his dignity, his very bones rebelled against groveling before his own protégé turned predator. Yet faced with losing half his empire, I watched his spine curve like wilting fern, knees cracking against marble. Ivy. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. My mistake. I shouldn't have betrayed us. Please, don't leave. Laughter bubbled up, tears streaming as I loomed over his crouched form. Behold Ethan on his knees, the mighty brought low by greed. I gathered the scattered pages, slapping them rhythmically against his ashen cheek. Did you enjoy making me the fool, Ethan? Playing house while fucking your mistress? When he stayed silent, I struck harder, manic fury unleashed. You're vile. Disgusting. A walking cesspool. He absorbed the blows. Disheveled head bowed. Vent your rage. Ivy. Beat me if you must. Just, don't end this. Please. My laughter turned shrill. Look at you, Ethan. Pathetic. You're just a whimpering dog now. His pallor deepened, the truth hitting harder than any slap. The hunter had become the prey, and the game was mine to end. I closed my eyes, feigning utter heartbreak as I handed him the pen. Sign it. Let's part ways amicably. This is the last shred of dignity I'm leaving you. Ethan's hand trembled, hovering over the document before finally scrawling his name. Ivy. I know I wronged you, but you must believe I still love you. His gaze remained fixed on the divorce agreement in my hands. When I reached for the papers, Ethan suddenly snatched them away and tore the document to shreds with frantic violence. Regaining his composure, he fixed me with that familiar icy stare. The affair was my mistake. But you crossed the line threatening the Miller family fortune. I'll grant this divorce. But you'll get nothing from us. There it was, the ruthless Ethan I'd shared a bed with for 3 years. I staggered up from the couch, eyes blazing crimson. You don't trust me? After everything? My laughter turned wild and unhinged. For a fleeting moment, his expression softened. Ivy. Enough. I cut him off. Voice steel. We'll settle this in court. Dark fury flooded his features. You'd really drag the Millers through litigation? Expect subpoenas. I spat, past caring about civilities. You'll regret this. Ethan. True to form, Ethan sent his battalion of lawyers to negotiate asset division. I ignored their overtures, filing for contested divorce instead. On the court date, Ethan didn't bother showing up, deploying a city's top legal eagle instead. His final text gleamed on my screen, "You'll regret this." Ivy. Regret? The only one drowning in it would be him. What Ethan didn't know, what he couldn't possibly anticipate, was that the shredded agreement had been a decoy. With overwhelming evidence of his infidelity and our ironclad prenup, the judge ruled swiftly, half the Miller assets to me, plus another quarter from Ethan's personal holdings due to marital misconduct. Watching his lawyer frantically dial unanswered numbers, I imagined Ethan's coming meltdown with vicious anticipation. The call came sooner than expected. "Ivy Anderson. You scheming bitch." Ethan's voice crackled with barely contained rage. "Oh. Finally caught on?" I purred. "Did you truly think I'd surrender billions out of love-struck idiocy? What I'm owed stays mine, whether you like it or not." The line went deathly quiet before he rasped. "You knew about the affair all along. Took you long enough." My laugh held winter's chill. "Enjoy reaping what you sowed. Ethan. Don't forget, we still need to finalize this at the courthouse." The moment the words left my lips, Alex suddenly appeared behind me holding Jessica. "Mommy." Jessica blinked her doe-like eyes innocently. Almost instantly, Ethan seemed to piece things together, his voice trembling with barely contained excitement. "Ivy. You cheated too. That biracial girl, she's your illegitimate child with Alex. Isn't she?" "Yes. It has to be." I quickly covered Jessica's ears, shushing her before retorting. "Ethan. Jessica isn't my daughter. Since the court already ruled, let's finalize our divorce soon." My denial only fueled his conviction. He sneered, venom dripping from his words. "You ruined me, Ivy. Now I'll return the favor. Mark my words." True to his threat, Ethan appealed the ruling. Gossip about Alex and me exploded across tabloids. "Should I contain this?" Alex asked over the phone while I calculated the remaining assets of Miller Enterprises. "Don't bother. Just keep Jessica out of paparazzi shots." I knew Ethan orchestrated this circus. Hanging up, I called my personal assistant. "Apply more pressure on Miller Enterprises. Crumbling empires need worthy replacements." At the second hearing, Ethan's haggard appearance contrasted sharply with his smug facade. "You'll lose today, Ivy. Neither you nor your bastard child will escape this," he hissed. Watching his pathetic display, I smiled sweetly. "Can't wait to see your performance." Ethan's legal team presented stacks of evidence, surveillance photos of Alex and me, even Jessica's French birth records. My smile widened as they presented each smoking gun to the judge. "Your Honor," my attorney countered, "we have DNA test results proving no biological relationship between Ms. Anderson and Jessica. Additionally, Mr. Knight's adoption paperwork shows he's Jessica's sole legal parent. Ms. Anderson and Mr. Knight are strictly business partners." The color drained from Ethan's face as his lawyer stammered. He never imagined Jessica wasn't my child with Alex, the ultimate checkmate in this chess game. Letting him believe victory was within reach made his total collapse infinitely sweeter. The verdict came swiftly: Ethan lost again. On our final trip to City Hall, scarlet silk clinging to my curves, I savored my triumph. Congratulations, Ethan. Ruined and destitute, quite the achievement. The ink dried on our divorce papers as Anderson Enterprises finalized its acquisition of Miller Holdings. Ethan always did pay attention to details. Pity he missed the most important one. He was arrogant enough to believe I'd never discover his affair with Luna, forgetting that humans always slip up eventually. From the moment I learned of Luna's existence, I waited patiently for this day. Ruining Ethan's reputation was merely collateral damage. I wanted him utterly destitute. Without Miller Group and his CEO title, he'd be nothing. The corporation wasn't clean either. Otherwise, how could I have uncovered those secrets? His eyes burned into me. Ivy, you're truly heartless. We were married for 5 years. My laugh held razor-sharp edges. Ethan, I warned you, those who betray sincere hearts belong in hell. You're the one who kept trampling mine. He'd made vows to me while reigniting old flames with another woman. He'd manipulated me repeatedly, reducing my devotion to worthless scraps. As for Luna, her pathetic attempts at provocation meant less than dust to me. If Ethan truly loved her, why did he keep her as his shameful secret? All their love couldn't disguise his rotten core. The universe delivered poetic justice when Ethan and Luna's constant public arguments caused that fatal car crash. How fitting they died mid-scream, just like their toxic relationship. Returning to my penthouse, the shower's rhythmic patter drew my attention. I reclined on the bed, strategically positioned to watch steam curl from the bathroom. Alex emerged wearing only a towel slung low on his hips, water droplets tracing the valleys between his abs. Our eyes locked as he crossed the room with panther-like grace. Before I could speak, Alex dropped to his knees beside the bed. His aristocratic nose brushed my throat as his lips charted burning paths across my skin. Alex, I breathed, fingers tangling in his damp chestnut hair. His emerald eyes darkened with primal hunger when I tugged. Jessica's asleep, he murmured against my collarbone, hands already working on my buttons. I arched into his touch, smiling at how this powerful night air became putty in my hands. When my fingertips grazed his jawline, Alex turned his face to kiss each digit with devastating tenderness. Baby, he whispered, the word vibrating against my pulse point. My laugh sounded breathless even to myself. This game we played, the Ice Queen and her loyal hound, never failed to thrill. Let the world think they'd won. I'd claimed the ultimate victory, wrapped in 6 feet of dripping wet devotion.